Hello and welcome to another Diablo 3 video. I'm Paradise and this is for don'tcritme.com. Today I'm going to be talking about the Diablo 3 economy after release. At the time I'm recording this, Diablo 3 is just a couple of days away, and so while we don't know for sure, I'm going to speculate about what I think are going to happen to some of the key things in the game over time in the economy. You may not necessarily agree with me, but I will go ahead and state my reasons so you can come to your own conclusions, and you'll get an advantage whether you're going to be trading on the gold auction house or with real money or both. So the first thing to talk about, and probably the most important thing in the Diablo 3 economy, is going to be gold. Gold is going to be the primary currency used in the Diablo 3 economy, and we know that Blizzard fully intend to ensure that it's not devalued like gold in Diablo 2 was. With that being said, gold is going to be at its very most valuable immediately after launch, and the reason for that is everyone starts the game with no gold. There's no money in the world when Diablo 3 is first released. Every character starts out with essentially a zero net worth, but every account actually starts out with a considerably negative net worth. Because of some of the gold sinks in the game that you need to spend money in, it's going to be a fairly lengthy process before an individual's account actually gets to the point where they've got money to spend. Because at the start of the game you've got your blacksmith to level up, you've got the jeweler eventually, your stash needs leveling. Your character has no equipment, so you might want to be filling the first slots for rings and amulets and all sorts of other stuff. Gold will be scarce, and therefore it will be extremely valuable, but over time, even when the real money auction house becomes available after the first week, and then in the subsequent weeks and months, it's going to devalue because some players are going to start to get their accounts into the positive net worth section. Gold is no longer going to be as valuable to them, and they're going to start driving down the market value. It's never going to become worthless. There are sufficient gold sinks that gold is always going to be have a value, but its value will steadily decrease over time. I do just want to talk about all of the gold sinks specifically for a minute, because there are a lot of them. There is the shared stash, blacksmith training, blacksmith crafting, jeweler training, jeweler crafting, repair fees, and auction house fees. Some of these are one-off fees per account, and others you're going to continue to pay as you play the game. So doing the one-off ones first, the shared stash, there are 3 tabs to unlock. You have to unlock rows on each tab, 2 at a time. The total cost of all of these unlocks, as at the end of the beta, was going to be about 420,000 gold, but once that's done, you no longer have to spend money on that at all. The next one is blacksmith training. Excluding the cost of blacksmith pages, tomes of blacksmithing, and tomes of secrets, the cost of training the blacksmith is going to be about 635,000. And we don't know how much these tomes are going to cost, but I suspect they're going to be more than that. So the blacksmith, while it's technically a one-off cost because you level it, it's probably an extremely high cost. I don't expect anyone to have leveled out their blacksmith very quickly. The next one-off cost is jeweler training. This seems to be much cheaper unless we're missing something, but from Blizzard stats it looks like the jeweler's only going to cost about 46,000 to train to the point where they can combine the highest level gems. Moving on to the costs that you'll pay continuously as you play the game, the cheapest one is probably going to be gem combining from the jeweler. Gems will drop in the world up to level 8, but the highest level gem is level 14. The jeweler will combine 3 gems of a given quality level into one of the next highest level for 50 gold. So assuming you collect a whole lot of level 8 gems, which are the highest you can find in the world, combining them into a level 14 gem, well, first of all it's going to take 729 combinations to do that, and at 50 gold per combine, which is the last cost we had for the jeweler, it's going to cost about 36,000 gold per gem, which is probably not huge when we look at the cost of the others, but there is going to be a lot of clicking involved. The next one is blacksmith crafting. Now this is a real question mark. We know that there are some individual blacksmith patterns for legendary items, for example, that cost up to 171,000 gold to craft each time, which is probably going to make blacksmith crafting at the end game the most expensive gold sink of all, because that doesn't count the opportunity cost of the crafting materials. So to craft a legendary, you have to use legendary crafting materials, which means that you have to salvage a legendary, which means that you can't sell that legendary, and that's going to cost. So blacksmith crafting is going to be an incredibly expensive gold sink at the end game. We also have repair fees. It's difficult to get a sense in the beta of how much that's going to be. In the beta, repair fees when your items are very damaged is probably around 100 gold, but obviously with higher level gear, those repair fees are going to be higher. So potentially this could be a significant cost as well, but we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And the last one was auction house fees. There is a fixed fee for a successful sale of an item, but you can pretty much rule that out, because as the seller of an item, you can just factor that cost into the price that you set, and as the buyer of that item, you don't have to pay for it. The other part is the 15% fixed fee for commodity purchases, like crafting materials or even gold if you're using real money. That is a very significant gold sink as well, because that means every time commodities change hands, 15% of that total value is just removed entirely. I'm not sure if there are any other gold sinks in the game that we don't know about yet. Perhaps consumable purchases. From what we know in the beta, health potions dropped very regularly, so it was not essential at all to purchase them. But perhaps that changes, or perhaps there's something that we don't know about yet. But as it stands, those are the primary gold sinks, which remove gold from the economy altogether. I'm not counting player trades like purchasing tomes of secrets or crafting materials in order to level up, because they just move value around in the economy from player to player without eliminating it. I will talk about some of those separately in the remainder of the video. Moving on from gold, the next thing I want to talk about is the economy of gems over time. In the short term, I think gems are going to be extremely valuable because they're going to be rare. Not everyone is going to have high level gems, and those that they have aren't necessarily going to be the right colors for them, so they're going to want to purchase them, and it's going to be very valuable. In the medium term, I think is actually where gems will be the most valuable, however. Once players have gotten to max level, they have started to chip away at the fixed cost gold sink, so they've got their blacksmith crafting up, maybe they've trained their jeweler, their stash has been unlocked, they're going to have some gold to spend, and gems are a really good way to spend it, because even when you upgrade items, you can take your gems with you. So gems, I think, are going to be extremely valuable from probably the month after release to, the 6-month mark, maybe even further than that. And after that, the value will start to decrease, as everyone only needs a finite number of gems, and gems will continue to fall as people play. There's no way to remove gems from the economy. You can't salvage them or whatever, and vendoring them is probably going to be worthless, so eventually they will get a lot cheaper. They're still going to be worth something, however, especially the high level gems, because getting them takes effort. The highest level gems that drop are 8, as I explained previously. To get to a level 14, you're going to have to combine 730 gems. People aren't going to want to do that. They will pay a small premium to have someone do that for them. Maybe that premium will even be high enough for it to become viable to purchase level 8 gems off the auction house, combine them, and then repost them. It all depends on what the final value of high level gems end up being compared to the transaction costs. In any case, gems will be at their most valuable as soon as the fixed gold sinks start to be exhausted, and before everyone has got a whole lot of gems. So if you want to make money in the gem market, that will be the time to do it. Next on the list we have got crafting drops. There are two types of crafting drop. There are recipes and there are books or pages. Looking at recipes first, you can train the blacksmith, and that gives you, as you train him, it'll unlock additional crafting recipes for various items and weapons. But not all of them will be unlocked by training. Some rare items or legendary items or armor sets or materials you will have to find the pattern for in order for your blacksmith to learn how to create that. Now those patterns are going to be, if it's anything like World of Warcraft, extremely rare and extremely valuable, because it's actually a mark of prestige for a player to have a blacksmith who can craft those items. So my prediction on the value of crafting recipes, actually I think when the game launches they may be undervalued, because no one is going to know how rare a particular pattern is, and there may be bargains to be gained. In the medium term, once people have started to figure out that, oh, the recipe for crafting those legendary gloves is actually really rare, the price will go up. And I think in the long term, the price will go up even further. Depending on how rare these patterns are, I think we could easily see these being the most valuable things in the game, even more valuable than items. If you buy a legendary item, you can wield that item or you can trade it, but if you buy a legendary crafting recipe and you train that to your blacksmith, you can now pump those items out with the requisite materials. There is an ongoing value in being able to do that, and there's always a value in completionists wanting to unlock every possible recipe because they don't take shared stash space. I think that these are going to be long-term collector's items. The other side of the coin are the consumable drops that you need for crafting. So like tomes of secrets are books that you need to consume to create some of the highest level patterns in the game. I think these are going to, in the short term, be extremely valuable because they'll be rare. But eventually, I believe that crafting is going to be limited by the materials that you have available and the gold cost of high level crafting. I think the tomes of secrets will eventually become abundant to the point where their value will drop away entirely. People are going to be capped by materials from having to salvage expensive gear, and capped by gold before they are capped by tomes of secrets. So if you stumble across these in the world and you don't have an immediate use for it, I would say sell it, because by the time you do need it, they are probably going to be more common and cheaper than at the time you found them. Next up on the list would be commodities, such as crafting materials. However, I honestly don't know what the value of commodities is going to be over time. There are a lot of unknowns, particularly in the later difficulties. We don't know what the ratio is going to be in terms of items, drops, magic find versus gold find, and until we know that, I can't really speculate on what the relative value of commodities is going to be. So just going to skip past that one for now and move on to items, which is really the core of Diablo. Equipment, so weapons and armor. They are what everyone looks at when they think of the Diablo economy, and they will certainly be the most interesting things to track. A couple of easy predictions that I can make here. Items that are less than level 60 are not going to be very valuable because people know that they are going to be replaced. They're only ever a temporary solution for their character. So honestly, I don't expect anything below level 60 to be worth more than, you know, $5 or $7 US, or the gold equivalent of that. Once we do get to in-game gear though, that's where things get very interesting. In-game equipment is going to essentially come in three flavors. There are going to be legendary items, there are going to be set items, and there are going to be rares that happen to have rolled very good stats. Of that, I think the rares have the potential to be the best items. Like if you roll perfectly on the stats for a rare, it should be better than anything else in the game. and that will probably make them the most valuable. However, we are talking completely perfect rolls, like it would have to roll the exact top end of its damage and its variable stats, and anything less than that, even if it's still extremely good but not perfect, will have a hugely diminishing effect on its value. The other interesting thing is set items, I'm pretty sure, will be valued far above their actual stats, and the reason is aesthetics. So there are 16 tiers of armor in the game, so 16 different looks for normal and rare and magic items, but set items get their own look. Now for anyone wanting to differentiate their character, that's going to be extremely valuable to them, and I think as a result you'll see set items priced a lot higher than their stats would suggest. Legendaries are probably in the same boat as well, particularly if there is a legendary that goes really nicely with a particular set or happens to look really nice. I think aesthetics are actually going to be a key differentiator here. The other interesting thing, of course, is the maximum value of a sale. So we know that on the Real Money Auction House you're limited to 250 USD. I think that a lot of items could potentially be at or around that cap, and I'm wondering what will happen to someone who wants to sell an item that they think is better than an item that's currently on the auction house for that max price. What we could see, and this is just a theory, because I don't know if this is the case for sure, but this is a theory of mine, we might see the extremely perfect legendaries or perfect set items sold for gold rather than real money, because I don't think there is a gold limit, and you can convert gold to real money obviously later. So if you wanted to sell something for more than the Real Money Auction House limit in your region, selling it as gold and then converting the gold might be the way to do it, which will be fascinating. But yeah, that's how I think the tiers of items are going to sell. Anything below level 60 will be worthless. Anything at level 60, if it's got perfect stats and it's rare, will be the most valuable. Other than that, you'll see legendaries and set items valued as much for their aesthetics as they are for their stats. There is one last thing I want to touch on, and that is hardcore mode. So there is no Real Money Auction House in hardcore mode, which is a very interesting choice, because hardcore items, because they're not permanent, have the potential to be more valuable than normal mode items. So I think we are going to see the old Diablo II cash trading, black market, grey market sites jump on the hardcore bandwagon, and we will see some trades for hardcore items organised or conducted through there, and those values will be a lot higher than people think. However, I do think if and when the first Inferno hardcore clear happens, so someone has made a hardcore character and has managed to beat Inferno mode, which Blizzard is saying, you know, oh, it's not really possible. Once that happens, I think the hardcore black market will take a nosedive. So that will be a very interesting place to watch. I'm not going to participate in that myself. I'm going to stick to trading and probably playing in normal mode, but it will be fascinating to watch. Okay, so that's pretty much me. If you do agree or disagree with anything in the video, with your thoughts on the economy, please leave me a comment. If you like what you have seen, then please subscribe. I do plan on making more Diablo 3 videos after launch. And thank you for listening. So I am Paradise, and this has been a video for don'tcryptme.com. See ya!